how clean that is. Look how clean all the thumbnails are. Like Assassination of Julius Caesar. That is not. That is kind of cool. You know. I know I cannot talk, but yes.
The conspiracy to kill Julius Caesar began with a meeting between three men: Cassius Longinus, Marcus Brutus, and Decimus Brutus.
Oh shit. Oh shit, they're planning it. They're planning the end.
Cassius was an
Kill the king.
experienced soldier and general. A decade earlier, he had fought the Parthians under Crassus. After Crassus's humiliating defeat, Cassius rallied the survivors and successfully defended Syria against a Parthian counterattack. He would go on to command a Pompeian fleet during the Civil War, and to everyone's surprise, he proved himself to be Rome's most successful naval commander in a generation.
They were big guys.
Much of a difference,
They knew
because,
how to
as we
like
know,
military
Pompey was
game.
eventually defeated, and Cassius was captured.
Still,
But Caesar
was a big
recognized
military guy.
talent when he saw it. He issued Cassius a full and complete pardon, and put him in charge of one of his legions destined for Egypt.
You see, he was a trusted guy.
The Alexandrian campaign turned out to be kind of a disaster, but thanks in part to Cassius's leadership, the Romans...
That's your
were
first
able
time
to
seeing
hold-
a map of seeing the map of Europe? Wait, that's not North America? Wait, is that the? I thought that was Mexico. What the fuck?
their own until
What's up, Nick?
reinforcements arrived.
I'm watching the Assassination of Julius Caesar. In 44 before Christ. I found this channel and I just love it because the way he explains it is like precise. It feels like academic. I like how it represents all the visual. You know, it's more advanced than oversimplified, but at the same time, it's like he explains well. You know?
After Egypt, Cassius let Caesar know that he would not participate in the slaughter of Pompeians, and so Caesar sent him back to Rome. Cassius
said no.
paid a professional price for his loyalty, because when it came to the upcoming Parthian campaign, Caesar planned to stick Cassius in a thankless administrative job in Syria.
Yeah, he kinda like he was a big military guy. He said no, he didn't want to kill some Pompeians. And like Caesar was like, well, now you're not really like good for me. Go deal with administrative job in that one land there. First guy.
Talked about Marcus Brutus before.
Okay,
There's not that
I don't know what he's going to say, but I heard another thing is that in the Roman history, people were really into their family lineage. That's all almost like they got their meaning out of their life. It's like, what did your grandparents and your parents and your great-great-grandparents were doing as Brutus? There's like a personality to your family you need to follow. And I think, if I remember correctly, I could be saying a bunch of bullshit, is that Brutus was part of this one family that was, since the beginning of the founding of Rome, the kinda against the big guys. And that's why even when it's time to assassinate Julius Caesar, he takes the role as the enemy, because his family was always a bit that role inside of the family, all the families inside of Rome, which is really cool. Wait, I'm gonna just pull. I think I know a little more about history since I'm European. You don't need to educate me. Lol. I've got one thing to say, Nick. First thing first. How is you being European makes you more prone to know Roman history? Rome is so far away from you that it's different. It's like so different than Europe. You couldn't say Rome is European. Those guys are so far away. They're like another country. Second thing, what are the credentials you have? Okay, you want to see my credential? See. Wait. History. Fuck, my pencil doesn't work. History. You see? Just look. My credential. Look. You what? That is true. That is true. That is real. Nick. So
Much to
Brutus.
say of his early political career beyond the fact that he aligned
So
himself.
so because of his family, I think Brutus was like kind of still going on with his like family personality, let's say, which is interesting.
With the ultra-conservative Cato. Unlike Cassius, Brutus was not a military man. During the Civil War, he joined up with the Pompeians, but as far as we can tell, he didn't really do anything. After Pompey's defeat, he immediately surrendered to Caesar, who in turn gave him the fairly important job of governing Cisalpine Gaul, promising to fast-track him all the way up to
How do you laugh in French? Like everyone, dude. What do you mean? I laugh like everyone. Ah ha 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 ha. How do you laugh in Polish?
consul in the years to come. You see, through all of this, Brutus maintained a fairly good personal relationship with Caesar. Brutus's mother Servilia had been in a romantic relationship with Caesar for about 20 years.
What?
This was not seen as unusual. Servilia was an older woman, twice widowed, plenty of children. She was free to
Older woman, yes.
Because of this relationship,
Yes.
Brutus had known Caesar for his entire adult life, if not longer. Caesar was happy to help out his mistress's son however he could. Decimus Brutus, distant cousin, had a different story to tell.
Because you don't pronounce H in French. That's why I'm wondering. Portuguese love. For example. I guess in French then, we just say the letter A. Ah 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 ah. I am so French. Oui oui oui. Ah 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 ah. So who is this? Decimus? Or guy? Distant cousin.
Decimus was an honest-to-God, dyed-in-the-wool Caesarian. He had spent at least 5 years serving under Caesar in Gaul. He even fought alongside Caesar and Antony at the Battle of Alesia. You might even say that he was in Caesar's inner circle.
They were all close. They were all
Civil
big
War,
guys into
Decimus
the
stayed behind in
the,
Cisalpine Gaul,
political
where he impressed
theme.
everybody by putting down a pretty bad uprising. After this, Decimus got the nod from Caesar and was elected praetor. Next year, he would be heading off to Cisalpine Gaul once more, this time as its formal governor. Each of these three men, Cassius, Brutus, and Decimus, came to believe that Caesar intended to destroy Roman politics by crowning himself king. In fact, this was already happening before their eyes. Caesar wielded most of the powers of a king already, and Roman politics were becoming more and more irrelevant by the day. In their eyes, the only way out
Emperor
of this mess was to remove Caesar from the equation. He had to die.
No emperor. Still Caesar.
But in order to get a shot at this, first, their little conspiracy had to expand, and it didn't take very long to get some top-tier politicians on board. People like Gaius Trebonius, a former consul, general, and veteran of the Gallic Wars, who had recently become disillusioned with Caesar over his treatment of the Senate. People like Tillius Cimber, a preacher and former Caesarian who saw this conspiracy as his ticket to power. People like Publius Servilius Casca, a childhood friend of Caesar's, now a tribune of the plebs, who had since become so alarmed at Caesar's authoritarianism that he signed on to this conspiracy to end his life.
Time to kill him.
In the end, 60 senators joined the conspiracy, which you could argue is too many people. Roughly 7% of the entire
That's
Senate.
A lot.
Way too many.
Oh my god. Yeah, how do you keep a secret with as much people? It's going to spread. And like so many people in these circles too.
Conspirators began to meet regularly to strategize their next moves. The majority argued that the logical next step was to bring Mark Antony on board. He was Caesar's consular colleague for that year. If he signed off on the assassination, perhaps that would pacify Caesar's legions. Plus, the conspirators believed that they had a lot to offer Antony. After Caesar was gone, if Antony could bridge the divide between Caesar's veterans and the conspirators, he would become one of the most powerful senators in Rome.
Do you know the song All Caps by Doom? Yeah, of course I know All Caps by Doom. Why? I also want to know the assassination of Julius Caesar.
Consensus was forming, but before any definitive action could be planned, the former consul Trebonius spoke up. He knew Antony well, as they had both served under Caesar in Gaul. He revealed to the group that just last year, he had personally approached Antony as part of another conspiracy, and that Antony
Another cool thing about this channel is that they go through a story more through the lens of like the interaction into the micro level. You see what I mean? I found a jazz version of the song. What the fuck? Send it to the Discord. We'll listen to it afterwards. What about that? We'll listen to it afterwards. But you know, that's the thing I'm saying is that I feel a lot of the story is like big leaders and what happens into like society as a whole. But I feel with this channel, what is kind of cool is that he's really precise upon the interaction between the actors. You know, like there's not a lot of like YouTube channel, at least to what I've seen, that talk about the relationship between Antony and the other guy, and Caesar is like kind of like outside of it. You know, when it's time to talk about the Caesar assassination. Do that make sense?
When Trebonius revealed this rejection to the old conspiracy, people got spooked. And
it's like really precise on the moment, exactly.
Tipping their hand,
A bit like a book story, you know.
The conspirators were convinced.
Every moment.
No Antony.
It is crazy too to be able to like have the tools to look at the story that way too. That we're able to like make back the story almost to like every day that it happened. That day those guys met. That day those guys met. In that meeting we're able to know approximately what was being said. Which is like really crazy to think about.
About Cicero, you know? He was one of the few remaining former consuls who predated Caesar's rise to power. He was the guy who put down the Catiline rebellion 20 years earlier. A hero, an elder statesman. Maybe he was the one to lead them out of this mess.
The character is going to
debate, the conspirators ultimately decided against inviting Cicero into the conspiracy. We don't 100% know why, but one reason may be that in an effort to influence the new regime, Cicero had been spending an unhealthy amount of time with Caesarians. Some conspirators may have feared that he had gone over to the other side.
He's not your friend.
Another unusual aspect of this conspiracy, which may be pertinent here, is that it reflected a strong generational divide. For whatever reason, the conspiracy consisted almost entirely of men in their early 40s. Maybe these people just knew each other the best, or maybe they had the most to gain in a power vacuum, who knows?
Oh.
Cicero was well into his 60s.
Too old.
Quite simply, nobody in the conspiracy knew him that well. So
just didn't hang out with the young guys. Everyone stays with the people their age.
Nobody in the conspiracy could vouch for him. Fine, Cicero was out. The conspiracy would.
That's a weird way to see it. That's. I smoked weed at school today, but at the worst time because it was literally before math test. Bro, you cannot. I ain't gonna pass it for sure. No, if you're high, you're not going to like learn anything. I don't understand. I had friends that were telling me, no, being high in class is like way better. You understand way more shit. It doesn't work at all, dude. You're not going to pass your math exam. I'm sorry, Nick. I had to tell you. How do you also like? That's the other thing I don't understand. How do you guys were able to smoke in class and like not care if like I would get too paranoid. I wouldn't be able to do that shit. That's too wild. You don't listen to it even when you're high too. Ah, my god, dude, Nick.
One decision that the conspirators came to pretty early on was that the assassination should occur in public. This had
Dude.
to be seen by the people as a legitimate act, full of idealism and conviction. No back alley murders. But beyond this vague statement of principle, there
Make
was
it
very
clear.
little
Make
agreement
it clear he's
as
been
to
assassinated.
how they should actually proceed. Some people threw around the idea of assassinating Caesar while he was overseeing that year's elections. In a situation like that, Caesar would be up on a raised platform. in
Oh,
full view of the
really kill him?
that certainly met the
Above
criteria
everyone.
of being public. But how exactly were they supposed
We spoke in the changing room after PA, so almost no one enters there. I almost fell asleep on this test, but it was cool. Okay. Okay. Well, that is funny. I just can't. It's like well, for first thing, when I was in high school, I was in this private Catholic school or whatever. It's not Catholic. It used to be Catholic, but like it was really private. It was really like strict because of it, and you couldn't like smoke at all. You got caught one time, you were getting kicked out. But like in CJ, there was a lot of people smoking in class, even with the COVID thing that was hitting. But like I just couldn't. How do you go into a class and like be able to be there high? I just can't. Is it like funny? Is it like a guy thing? I'm curious. Is it like no, it's fine, okay? Maybe I'm dumb and like there's something about like being high, you learn faster, you like your brain unlock a new power source. But like was it like just a fun thing to do with the guys, you know what I mean? You're like, oh let's go. Let's try to be high. It's like a danger to it, you know? You're like, yeah, let's fucking go. I mean, here's the same, if they catch you, you're fucked. Ooh, playing with danger. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like too dangerous. Like, why would you do that? I feel you can like. I don't know. Maybe your resistance is good. I had this guy I used to work with. He was high 24/7. He had always his wax pen and his like little smoke thing with him, and he was like he just could work so well with it. Like he was like, no, but like it helped me focus. I was like, huh, okay.
to pull
I'm
this
going to
off?
assassinate
Caesar would be
Caesar.
up in an exclusive VIP area surrounded by supporters. And even if they could pull it off, an assassination before the entire electorate had a 100% chance of causing a riot. The conspirators might not survive. Others considered killing him on the way to the elections. If they could predict his route ahead of time, they could set up an ambush as he was crossing a bridge. Caesar would have bodyguards. There would be a tussle, but some of the conspirators believed that if they moved quickly, they might be able to rush Caesar and push him off the
I think while you're high, you're definitely not able to learn. But when I'm sober, I don't pay attention to the teacher anyway. Oh, I see.
side of the bridge. This probably wouldn't kill him, but they could have assassins waiting below to finish the job. This was a better plan.
I think that's the thing with school, right? You kind of have to like force yourself like it's a job. You know, I think it's a scam to not let kids think school is like having a work, having a job. You know, I don't know why, but like not kid, you're not a kid. I know you're like older, but like I feel could it be like more easy to just tell? No, it's your job right now. You're not getting paid to be a student, but it's your job. And so you're like kind of forced to it. I'm criticizing the educational system, and I do not know how to do that. It's like all the teachers are so boring, and I agree. It's like, oh my god, like French. I couldn't like listen to
Part of
this
it lay
class.
on the physical prowess of a bunch of nerdy-ass senators.
I'm skeptical,
They then came up
guys.
with yet another plan.
Reddit is
As
not
a
saying
side business,
like it's a good
Decimus
idea.
happened to run a company of gladiators. The conspirators discussed using these gladiators to somehow attack Caesar at some public games. You know, leave the killing to the professionals. So they had 3 plans on the table: the election plan, the bridge plan, and the gladiator plan. The conspirators went back and forth for meeting after meeting after meeting, debating pros and cons. Each scenario introduced a dangerous amount of uncertainty into the equation, and the group struggled to come up with any sort of consensus. This is one of the downsides of having 60 people in
Everyone needs to agree, and no one is like, yeah.
on anything. But then,
What
out
happened?
of nowhere, Caesar publicly announced what up until now had been a closely held secret.
Dude, if I go there and I sit on my phone for 8 hours, wait, they left your phone? My phone for 8 hours. It's obvious I'm not going to be enthusiastic about going there. Wait, I don't know how the Polish school system works. But what are you? Are you like have you chose your path, or you're still doing like just general like school shit right now? No, I get it. I really get it. I feel like schools are not like, they don't feel like it's fun to be there. It's not like you don't see really why you learn stuff. It's like kind of blurry. It's like, okay, just learn this. They don't give the tool to like actually be able to focus to. They're just saying like, well, you got French to learn. Here's all the tense you need to learn. What? I'm going to help you, like, give you the tool to be like able to learn and be able to study. No, that is not our job. That's your parents' job, I guess. What? Now everyone has phones? What? It's so easy, you can get distracted even easier than before?
He would be leaving.
Well,
Rome
that's
on
not
March
my problem.
18th. The conspirators had been.
At the same time, you
operating
don't want to like put like so many like tasks on the teacher. You know what I mean? It's like the teacher has already like a class to deal with.
the
Imagine
essential-
you have 30 kids trying to, you need to teach something that's really boring. Half of them doesn't care. The other half is just there and need help. Like the amount of energy needs to like be able to have everyone is like crazy. I'm in geography field, but I still learn all the subject. I in most of these subjects, teacher don't care and lets us do whatever we want. Yeah, that's the thing. Discipline, it becomes like such a great like skill to have, right? Being able to be disciplined yourself. Hmm. I didn't know you were a geography. That's really cool. That's really interesting. I love geography.
that they would have months to figure out a plan. They were wrong. They had weeks.
Wait, have you watched? I want to finish that thing, but now I think about it, is like, have you watched Map Man? I think it's called that. Yep. This thing. I don't know if it's the kind of geography you like, but like it's really fun.
We're the men, and here's the map.
Map men, map men, map, map, map men, men.
Today, we're looking at this 13th century Hereford Mappa Mundi, which is Latin for World Tablecloth. It lives on display in Hereford Cathedral, and you may have noticed it couldn't look less like the actual world. But that's because this particular map was orientated with east at the top, so if we rotate it, it still looks nothing like the world. Incidentally, orientated means east at the top, hence Orient.
Ah,
There are 9
whoa.
oceans and only 3 continents, Asia, Europe and Africa. And this
What?
happens to be Britain.
Noah's Ark is in Armenia, the Garden of Eden is in Asia, and there's a bearded figure with mixed genitalia, a turban, and a single breast. It's almost a good enough reason to visit Hereford.
Hereford's nice.
No, it's not.
It's alright.
Never been.
So because nothing on this map looks anything like anything, it makes using it to
I think I prefer such geography over learning some fucking rocks. Okay, you're more into that like yeah.
get from
That planning, but urbanism or
Hi
whatever.
there, I'm trying to get Babylon.
Oye? Hello? Yo, I'm back. I'm back. Sorry, I had to talk to my father. Wait, properties? Oh my god, why is the cam always like deactivating? Percy boy. Fair. How are you doing, Percy? Camera frozen? I know. It froze like randomly sometimes. What's up, Percy boy? We're watching like some history video about the assassination of Julius Caesar, and I got into a tangent about geography with Nick. Doing good? Nice.
Where are we? But be fair, they didn't.
So now I'm a tangent. I'm watching like Map Men with a old ass like a map.
A Greek scholar called Ptolemy produced this impressive-looking map of the known world, and he managed it using only equipment that looked like this.
What?
Very clever.
But
Very-
they're not as silly as they look. Unlike maps today, this
You're
map
gonna froze
wasn't
again?
trying to
You're going to
represent
froze.
geographic
I now
details.
playing League of Legends. What? League of Legends is such a game.
All maps are just a representation of a particular worldview.
No.
What?
Right. It's just like the tube map, which is great for showing what tube to get, but for everything else, it's rubbish. Hi there, I'm trying to get to Babylon.
So, what is the Hereford Mappamundi trying to do?
I know!
Mark.
It seeks to
How do I get to the moon?
Christian hegemony by charting the history of creation, the soul's journey to the afterlife, detailing the resurrection of Christ, and predicting the end of the world.
Well done.
Thank you.
So you could say the map is a guide for how to get to heaven.
I think we're in Ealing.
So given its aim is to map the Christian message, it actually does that pretty well.
Ignoring
map-
stray mythological references to the
It
Greeks,
was
Hercules,
the
Ulysses,
goal.
and the Minotaur's labyrinth.
Don't forget, you're going to heaven.
And as the cartographic historian Jerry Brosson wrote, the Mappamundi looks forward to the moment of Christian judgment, the end of space and time, when there will be no need for geographers or maps.
Wow, that is crazy. I froze again.
Is this just a map? What harm could it do?
This changed everything. All of the old plans were thrown away, and the conspirators.
And
started
so
to-
we're back with the assassination of Julius Caesar, Percy. So basically, what happens? There was like 60 people in the Senate that were like secretly trying to kill Julius Caesar, and that's why we're watching right now.
scratch.
What will
They
happen?
still agreed that the assassination
Okay,
needed to
okay.
happen in a public place. But after debating the old plans, they now knew that it also needed to happen in a controlled environment.
Julius Caesar being assassinated. Yup.
And potential rioters. On
Oh my
top
god,
of
my
all
dog
that,
is just there.
this new time constraint meant that they had to throw the whole thing together quickly. It couldn't be too elaborate.
I keep freezing. The camera gods are not
Senate
on my
meetings
side.
Happened all the time. A Senate meeting wouldn't require any additional prep work. It also had the virtue of still technically being a public place, while at the same time being nice and isolated.
And so right now they're like trying to see how are we going to kill him? Are we going to kill him in front of everyone? Are we going to kill him on the bridge? Are we going to kill him like
This was perfect. Finally, the
Oh, you
conspirators
see?
agreed on something.
now? We're like, okay, we're going to kill him like that.
Particulars.
Just
Caesar
enter
was
the room and
defeated
just kill him.
on March 18th,
That's it.
So they agreed that their attack should take place during the last Senate meeting before his departure. That would be on March 15th, the Ides of March. But coordinating this wasn't as simple as you might think. Caesar was personally financing a complete redesign of Rome's downtown area, which included Rome's old Senate house. Because of this, the Senate had been randomly meeting in various temples scattered throughout the city.
Ooh.
The conspirators
They
agreed
didn't
that
know.
the safest thing to do would be to stash some weapons on location. But because of all this bouncing around, they couldn't be 100% certain where this particular Senate meeting would be taking place. So instead, they decided that a select group of senators needed to hide daggers in their togas. This would be dangerous, as it was a death penalty offense to carry a dagger inside the pomerium.
But you know who else has a death
For
penalty?
everybody else,
Caesar.
They decided to smuggle weapons into the Senate meeting using these baskets that were always full of note-taking materials. If the location of the meeting was changed at the last minute, these baskets would hopefully come with them.
Hides the weapon.
Late in this process, Cassius brought up something that had been troubling him. What about Antony? Caesar and Antony were co-consuls for that year, and if this thing was going down during a Senate meeting, Antony would be only a few paces away.
Kill him too.
He'd probably put up a fight.
Kill him too.
Plus, if they were successful, Antony would be Rome's only remaining consul. What if he was angry? What if he came after them? Wouldn't it be much safer to just kill them both? Cassius then went one step further. So long as they're having this conversation, what about Lepidus? He wasn't a consul or anything, but he was sitting on Tiber Island, just outside of Rome's Pomerium, with a full legion. If Antony declared a state of emergency or something, he might ask Lepidus to cross the Pomerium and restore order. This would be a disaster.
Oh, they won't be able
Cassius
to kill.
continued. If, on the other hand, they took out Caesar, they took out Antony, they took out Lepidus, they took control of that legion, they would probably be able to pressure the Senate into endorsing the assassinations retroactively. Brutus strongly disagreed. They were not revolutionaries. They were not here to overthrow the government. In fact, that's exactly what they were trying to prevent. What they had all agreed to do was remove a tyrant. What Cassius was
Oh, they just didn't like Caesar. That's it. They don't want to like change the system. They're just like, I don't like this guy. Get him away. Let's kill him.
The Pompeians sided with Cassius, and the former Caesarians sided with Brutus. After some high drama, Brutus finally turned the tide. He told the group that, like it or not, Caesar's reforms were popular. If they started down the road of purging Caesarians, they would inevitably end up repealing Caesarian legislation as well. They wouldn't be able to help themselves.
They will have to reform some things.
Would turn on them. It would forever politicize the assassination. A better path, he argued, was to surgically remove the rot at the heart of Roman politics. Once Caesar was gone, everything else got easier.
The rot.
This argument convinced Cassius and the ex-Pompeians. Fine, no purges, Caesar only.
Don't kill anyone else. It's going to make too much like
so what was Caesar
instability. We just want Caesar gone.
Just going about his business, making preparations for the upcoming campaign. But he wasn't totally
don't fuck with the political things. Just get him out.
The priest Sparina, who in my opinion probably had contacts inside the conspiracy, began to warn Caesar to beware the Ides of March. Caesar was getting other clues as well, although in the moment he didn't quite know what to make of them. For instance, days before the Ides, he
was getting schizo, bro. He was like starting to get paranoid.
And said something
maybe.
Like, what's his problem? He looks sick. On the day before the Ides of March, Lepidus invited Caesar and
turn up the video. Is it like too not loud enough?
Decimus to his home for dinner and drinks. As one of the
I'm watching this stream in the background and playing League.
Three conspirators.
Sick.
Decimus had been careful to stay on good terms with the Caesarians, and apparently this strategy was paying off because even at this late stage, he was still in Caesar's inner circle. The three men ate and drank and chatted late into the night.
They were
Much
good
of the conversation
friends.
Centered around the upcoming
They might have
and
kissed.
Parthian wars. Caesar
they might have shared more than wine.
And Decimus would be leaving later in the year to go and take over as the governor of Cisalpine Gaul. This province would be key to keeping Caesar supplied in Dacia, and so the three men spoke of stockpiles and supply lines, and oh boy, it must have been riveting.
Wow, boring.
As the night wore on and the drinking took its toll, the conversation turned philosophical. Somehow, somebody brought up this question: what's the best way to die?
That is crazy that we also have the records of those conversations, those small conversations Caesar had with his friends, his colleagues, you know? Wait. You're staying there. I'm keeping you locked, okay? We're going to plan something, Polo. We're going to plan the assassination of the mods here. I'm making this a no, you stay here. Come here. Hey, you see, Polo. Yes. What? You can't assassinate me? Oh, so what we're going to do, we're going to wait them to be all in chat, okay? So once they're all in chat, we're going to make a bomb. Yes, finally someone cool on this stream. Hello. Look, he's so. Assim? Ici. Assim? Oh wait, that is. It's not sitting. Assim? Oh, yeah. What about? He's the real guy here, okay? You guys are not real moderators, okay? He's the real moderator. He wants to leave. He just wanted to say hi. Just wanted to say hi. Okay, back to the assassination of Julius Caesar. Really good, really good. Okay. But yeah, that's the thing I was saying. It's like kind of crazy. We have like records of like what's being saying. What type of conversation were they having? Like how do we do that?
Pontificating, and Caesar got uncharacteristically quiet. After a bit, he made up his mind and told the others that the best way to die would be suddenly and unexpected.
Ooh.
When I imagine this incident, I imagine a half-drunk Decimus dying inside and trying to think of a way to change the subject. But it was fine. Eventually, the evening wound down and everybody went home.
Wow, what a conversation to be had 2 days
The
before
next
you
morning,
die.
Caesar awoke to the sound of screaming. It was still hours before dawn, and his wife Calpurnia was inconsolable. She told him that she had just experienced the most vivid dream of her life, where she witnessed the roof on their home collapse. In the last moments of the dream, the part where she was quite literally screaming, she saw herself covered in blood and holding
Everything
Caesar's
was
mangled
showing
corpse in her arms.
Caesar is going to die.
After this, both husband and wife found it impossible to go back to sleep, so they got up and spent hours talking as they waited for dawn. The ancient sources take care to point out that Calpurnia was basically an atheist, and that she wasn't the kind of person who believed in prophetic dreams. By now, Calpurnia had definitely heard Sparina's warnings to beware the Ides
that
of
is
March.
something.
Calpurnia's
The
subconscious
gods were
appeared to be
sending
playing out a version of the thing
signals.
that she feared the most. When the sun came up, Caesar complained to his wife that he was feeling sluggish and dizzy. Some historians have taken this to mean that Caesar may have had a seizure in his sleep, but with the drinking the night before, how could you possibly say? That morning, Caesar was scheduled to make an appearance at some minor religious ceremony in his capacity as Rome's chief priest. This thing would have taken place literally steps from Caesar's front door, not a big time commitment. Caesar went to the ceremony and spotted Sparina across the crowd. Caesar playfully called out to him, "The Ides of March have come." Sparina responded mysteriously, "Yes, the Ides have come, but they have not yet gone."
What did
When
it
Caesar
mean?
returned home, he complained to Calpurnia that he still wasn't feeling well. The two talked it over for a bit, and they eventually decided that since Caesar would be leaving on campaign in a few days, he should rest and recover while possible. The Senate was scheduled to meet that day, so Caesar sent word to Antony to go ahead and cancel the meeting on account of him being sick. Caesar had just unknowingly upended the conspiracy.
Appended put the dates
Like a flash, Decimus showed up at Caesar's home and asked him why he was canceling the meeting. Caesar told him about Calpurnia's dream and about how neither one of them had really gotten any sleep. Decimus laughed in Caesar's face, calling the whole thing superstitious nonsense. He then played up the misogyny angle and said that if it got out that he was canceling Senate meetings on account of his wife's bad dreams, a lot of senators would take it as a deliberate insult. After a pause, Decimus was like, "I'm not supposed to tell you this," and then revealed that certain senators had been working behind the scenes on a bill that would allow Caesar to use the title of king so long as he was outside Italy. Decimus continued, saying that the bill was not universally supported, and so if Caesar insulted the Senate now, it might never see the light of day. This was a bold-faced lie. The bill did not exist. Decimus made it all up.
Oh,
But the lie flattered
just
Caesar's
like
ego,
Caesar,
and so it was
worked.
super effective. He agreed to go to the Senate meeting. Decimus's quick thinking had just saved the conspiracy. On their way, a guy named Artemidorus
That is crazy
burst
that
through the crowd,
there was a
grabbed Caesar,
dream
and put a
at the
scroll in
same
his hand.
time.
He
The
told
wife
him,
of
"Caesar,
Caesar
read this
had a
quickly
dream."
and read it alone. It concerns you personally." Caesar was constantly getting approached on the street like this, and so he handed the scroll off to one of his attendants and continued on his way. Later investigations would reveal that this scroll contained detailed information about the conspiracy. Caesar would never read it. Now, I mentioned before that the Senate couldn't meet at their normal Senate house, and that for the time being, they were ping-ponging around the city to a bunch of temporary locations. As Don
Bad luck,
would have it,
Caesar.
today's Senate meeting would be happening in a place called the Theater of Pompey, outside of Rome's Pomerium. The Theater of Pompey was actually an entire complex of buildings that had been financed and built by Pompey at the height of his power. It included a theater, an arena, a temple, a place for shopping, all sorts of amenities, super fancy. Early in the day, the Senate meeting would be taking place in the temple, and later in the day, there would be some kind of gladiator thing in the arena next door. Wait a second. Gladiators. Decimus had gladiators. Apparently, when Decimus learned the location of the Senate meeting, he tried to get his gladiators signed up for the games next door. For whatever reason, they were rejected, so instead, their plan was to just loiter outside the arena as if they belonged there, with their weapons, in broad daylight. Not exactly subtle. In case anybody asked, they had an elaborate cover story prepared about how they were waiting to see if another gladiator showed up so that they could arrest him for violating a contract. Anyways,
understand that
Caesar
part.
and
What?
Decimus were extremely late to the Senate meeting, so most of the senators were just hanging around outside the temple, making small talk.
Blah 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 blah. Small talk.
But not Cassius. he was all alone, inside the temple,
Dib on
looking
the
up at a
toes
larger-than-life
of
statue
Caesar.
of Pompey in complete silence. After Pompey's death, Cassius had been one of the few who proved his loyalty by refusing to take up arms against his fellow Pompeians. What was he thinking here?
I don't
Commotion
know
outside
this story
indicated
about
that
the
Caesar was approaching,
Pompeians.
so Cassius snapped out of it and
They
went
are
outside
at
to
war
look.
with their city?
Looking around, Cassius would have been able to see a lot of his fellow conspirators in the crowd. Cassius hadn't seen Decimus for several hours, so he pulled up beside him and Casca, another conspirator, just to make sure everything was all right. A mob of senators each wanted a private word with Caesar, so they would have to wait a while before they could head inside. As Cassius and Decimus and Casca were waiting, some rando senator named Linus approached them and said way too loudly, "Casca, Brutus told me your little secret. How dare you keep me in the dark like this?" Casca panicked. The dude continued, "I hear you're running for Aedile. When did this happen?" As Linus was making a scene, another rando senator, somebody from outside the conspiracy, pulled Cassius and Decimus aside.
Everyone's
In
so
hushed
stressed.
tones, he told them, "I hope that you accomplish your task. Please do not delay. People know, and they are talking." Cassius and Decimus were stunned by this. They looked towards Caesar, but everything appeared normal. At that moment, that loudmouth Linus made his way over to Caesar, pulled him aside, and made a big show of whispering something in his ear. Cassius and Decimus and Casca
Why
watched
was he
with their hearts in
doing
their
that?
throats.
It was like,
Maybe they should just do it now. Maybe Decimus should get his gladiators. But it was nothing. Linus walked away, and everybody started making their way inside.
He just like was
On cue,
trying
the
to make
conspirator
scared
Trebonius
everyone.
pulled Mark Antony
Scared
aside for a private
everyone.
word. Caesar entered the temple and took a seat in his special golden chair/throne. As this was a Senate meeting, his
Slash
bodyguards
throne.
remained outside. Under normal circumstances, Antony would be sitting only a few paces away, but for the moment, he was still outside with Trebonius. This particular Senate meeting was pretty poorly attended. Of the 900 or so potential attendees, only 200 to 300 actually showed up. Of this 200 to 300, 60 were in the conspiracy. That's what,
Ooh,
20 to
a
30%.
third of it.
Massive. It's no
A
wonder that
third
people
of it
talking.
knew.
A signal was given, and a bunch of conspirators rose to their feet and
How
moved
did-
towards Caesar.
Oh.
Tilius Cimber loudly asked Caesar to consider pardoning his brother, an ex-Pompeian who had fled after the civil war. As Cimber made his appeal, the rest of the conspirators slowly fanned out and formed a perimeter. Still seated, Caesar answered Cimber, saying that his
How do
brother
we
had shown
know
no
how-
contrition or remote
That happened like that way. How do we know that? I'm so curious. Who wrote about that stuff afterwards?
force whatsoever,
Like,
and so,
no-
no, he wouldn't be
that
pardoning him
much.
anytime soon. By the time Caesar was done speaking, Casca was standing directly behind him. Suddenly, Cimber reached out and grabbed Caesar's toga, yanking it hard, exposing his bare shoulder. This was the predetermined signal to attack. Casca immediately drew his dagger and stabbed down as hard as he could. He missed. The dagger grazed Caesar's shoulder and drew a bit of blood.
How
Caesar
do you...
grappled with Casca, shouting, "Casca, what are you doing?" Another version has Caesar shouting, "This is violence." A quick reminder that Caesar and Casca had known
We
each other
don't. He just made it up, and now he's making views out of it. You think he faked it? He was like, just like, I'm gonna fake it. Look, no, there's. Oh my god, look how many sources there is. Romans. No, look at this. Paris to the death of C. Nah, I believe this guy. Look, he put the sources. He's a real academic. The 12, he read about like each of the guys. I believe, probably not, but that would be funny as hell. Imagine. No, I don't think he could have maybe like put some spot on some events to make it more theatrical, like the dream and like all the clues, somewhat spiritual Caesar had, you know. But I think it seemed pretty like good. But you know, it's still really interesting how he does it like so precisely. He can like he's trying to show the moment itself to a certain precision.
since childhood. Conspirator and non-conspirator alike were frozen in shock. Caesar and Casca were engaged in a little tug of war, but nobody moved to help
Just
either one of them.
flesh.
For several long moments, nothing happened. Casca finally called out in Greek, "Brother, help me!" Casca's brother Titidius sprang forward, which broke the spell. Suddenly, the room was a flurry of activity. Caesar was able to rise to his feet and get free of Casca. The first person he saw was Cassius, who drew his blade and slashed Caesar in the face. Caesar backed away, right into Casca's brother Titidius, who stabbed him between the ribs.
Oh, he's dead.
Two non-conspirators
It's over.
rushed forward to help Caesar, but the conspirators forming the perimeter held them back. The rest of the conspirators pushed in, attacking wildly. Decimus delivered a nasty
It's
wound.
crazy while everyone is watching, right? Imagine, they just came in, 300 senators just watching Caesar getting killed.
To Caesar's thigh. Cassius then struck for a second time, but amid all the pushing and shoving, his dagger was deflected, and he ended up hitting Brutus with friendly fire, stabbing him in the hand. Eventually, Caesar's leg wound got the better of him, and he fell to the ground. Brutus came forward, hand still dripping with blood, and hunched down over the dictator. Caesar spoke in Greek. "You too, my child?" Brutus stabbed Caesar between the legs.
I wish I was one of
Caesar's
them.
last words. He
Imagine,
pulled his toga up over
imagine
his
that
face
thing.
to preserve
Imagine
his
the
last
scene,
shred of
dude.
dignity, and he died.
That was definitely a great show. Oh yeah.
Coincidentally,
I'm
Caesar's
surprised
body had
no
comfortable-
people in the Senate, you know, because there were 60 people that were like into the secret, but like the other one did absolutely nothing.
rest directly
They,
underneath
I don't know if it's because we don't have the resources, but they only like 2 guys tried to help
the
Caesar.
statue of Pompey.
This would make a great movie, huh? Yo, history itself could make great movies, okay?
Now that the deed was done, many of the conspirators
And the more it goes on, the more precise we were able to like actually put like how it was done, how
suddenly
it was
found their
actually
courage
lived.
and took turns stabbing Caesar's corpse. They would be part of the assassination, if only symbolically. Even with this bit of post-mortem stabbing,
My
Caesar
turn!
only
My turn to put the wounds! My
sustained a
turn to
total
stab
of
him!
23 wounds. That means that the vast majority of the conspirators just stood around and watched the assassination.
Yeah.
In fact, using the ancient sources, we can confidently track 5 of Caesar's wounds. Number 1, from Casca to the shoulder. Number 2, from Cassius to the face. Number 3, from Casca's brother Titidius, between the ribs. Number 4, from Decimus to the thigh. And number 5, from Brutus to the groin. It's very possible that these 5 people were the only ones who struck Caesar while
I
he was
see,
still
Brutus! I see what you did there!
alive. The remaining 18 stabbings may all have been post-mortem. Earlier, I said that the conspiracy was arguably too large, but maybe I was wrong. When the big moment came, as many as 90% of the conspirators did nothing. Later examination of Caesar's body revealed that of his 23 wounds, 22 were superficial, and only 1 was fatal. The fatal wound was stabbing number 3, the shot between the ribs, delivered by Casca's brother Titidius.
Sometimes so called Gaius. He did it, he killed Caesar.
The assassination was over in like a minute. Many senators never even got a
History
chance to
got
leave their seats.
shaped.
Silence filled the room. Marcus Brutus, his hands covered in blood, both Caesar's and his own, was the first to move. He
Just
approached the seated senators,
calmly.
pointed to one senator in particular, and shouted, "Congratulations, Cicero, you've regained your liberty."
Wow, insane. That was great. That was a great video. I like this. I like this. This is going to be a great